Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Disney Cruise Line Show, a DIS Unlimited podcast. I am going to be the captain of this cruise through conversation. My name is Rhino, and joining me today are my co-captains, Dreams Unlimited Travel Agent Elaine Edwards.
Hi, friends.
Dreams Unlimited Travel Agent Chris Vorbeck.
Yo-ho!
And DIS Theme Park Correspondent, Miss Chloe Ferreira.
Ahoy.
Ahoy to you. Ahoy, everyone. Welcome aboard. Today, we are going to be talking about a last-minute checklist before you set sail on a cruise. So I think this is going to be a great conversation with anyone with travel anxiety like myself. I find this to be very helpful. So before we get into it, I just want to remind everybody that this and everything that we do here is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. They are experts at helping you plan the perfect cruise vacation. When you book with them, it costs you nothing extra on your trip. You help support the channel, all the content that we produce here, and you can receive up to $1,000 shipboard credit as well as a cruise gift basket for any cruise you book through Dreams, not just Disney Cruise Line. Again, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com for a free, no obligation quote today. So, so this is, I feel like this is one of those topics. I don't know if anybody else out there travels like I do, but one of the things I like to do is in the notes section of my iPhone app, I go through, I add it like a little checklist so you can put the check next to it, which is very helpful to me mentally, emotionally, all of that stuff in between. And this is one for somebody like myself who's not overly familiar with cruising. I think a last minute checklist, this is it. What's like the first thing you think of when you say this? Because this is going to be things to remember before leaving home and before embarkation.
Right.
Okay.
So like you, I do the exact same thing. Pretty much as soon as I book a trip, I start a new note, and even if it's a year away, I'm thinking of things and I'm adding them to that note, and I've got them separated and things I need to buy and things I need to pack and things I need to do. I should do the checklist feature. I just pull out the little green check mark emoji and I put it in front of it. Why am I not
See,
using
I
the
used
checklist?
to do that, and that's when the little circles, it's just like, boop, 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 boop. Yeah.
I need to do that. I need to do that from now on. But one of the big things that I make sure that I tell people is that, we've already talked about passports and all of that stuff, and you don't wait until the day before to pull out your passport and see if it's valid. But the big thing is the number of people that leave their passport sitting on the kitchen counter at home. Put it in your bag.
That's the first thing you should pack.
Literally put it in your bag is the first thing. Don't leave it sitting on the kitchen counter.
That's you know what I would recommend people doing, because in the studio here we put a dry erase board on the exit door, and I still forget, but it's one of those things where on that I write in giant bold letters. Also, if it's something I'm really, really like, I don't want to forget it. So like a passport, where you're like, this one thing, because I find that if I'm thinking about that one thing so much, it will end up being the one thing I actually forget, which sounds crazy. But it is that kind of like your brain tucks it away a little bit, is I will leave Post-it notes like right on the top of my computer monitor.
Yep.
Something that I know I look at every day. So I think a Post-it on the back of your front door that you're leaving through that says passport.
Yeah.
That would help.
What I often do is put them in a sheath. Like you can get those plastic sheaths or a Ziploc bag, even if you want. Put your port arrival form in there. Maybe put your passports in there, and then they're all in one place. They're contained. You're going to have them with you, and make sure you have all that. Put your luggage tags in there. All those things that you're going to make sure you don't want to forget. Passports, whatever your documentation is, there are all sorts of things. If you forget your luggage tags, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not, this is the biggest thing that I tell people when you're getting ready to leave. There are many things that you don't need to panic about.
Yes.
Your travel documentation is one thing that you need to panic about. That is the thing that we cannot fix on the other end. So please, please, please remember though, whatever you're using, make sure you have it with you. Cannot stress that enough.
Sorry, Chloe, you put your hand up. What'd you got?
Oh, that's okay. I'm a planner and I'm a bit of a nerd. So back when there used to be
I will confirm she's a nerd.
Back when there used to be the paper formatted navigators where you could highlight the activities that you want to do when you're sitting there in the port. I wish that was still a thing. Now it's all on the phone, which is very handy, but I miss bring my highlighters and stuff. But I used to have like a port specific I guess it was a notebook binder, but it had pockets in it. And so I made sure my passport was in there.
Yep.
I made sure my highlighters were in there. And I used to print out old navigators from like similar sailings to get a better idea of what to expect because I used to do a lot of 7-nighters, to what to expect like day by day. So I would like study that.
Wow, you really
but I
are
kept,
a nerd.
I was hardcore.
My God.
Yeah. So now that
Love
it's
planning
mostly,
trips with people like this, by the way. It's so awesome.
So now that I have everything in the app, now I have a specific smaller bag that I keep with me. I still like to bring a pen and a highlighter just in case the occasion arises, but I always make sure my passport is in there well before my trip. So thank you for the reminder, because obviously you can't get on the boat without that.
No.
Yeah, I love the idea that you've even done the research of being like, okay, what is it from before, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, especially like, if you do something like a Halloween on the high seas or a Very Merry Sailing. Is that called Very Merry? What's it called? Maritime. Very Maritime.
Very
I'm like,
maritime, yeah.
getting my Magic Kingdom parties confused. But those specific sailings have, special activities that you want to make sure you take advantage of. So it's always fun to go back and look at old navigators.
You can also bring, what I do is I have my quote-unquote check bag, the bigger bag that will have all my stuff. I always have a carry-on that I bring with me. Reminder, you're going to be carrying that until your room is ready, which will sometimes be like 1:30, 2 o'clock. So don't make it so big that you're going to have to lug this around. You're going to be carrying it around the ship. But that's a good place to put your passport and other stuff, because you're going to have that with you all the way through the process. And I put in there things like a bathing suit, because particularly if you have kids, they're going to want to go on the Aqueduct or the Aqua Mouse or whatever. As soon as you get on board, they see that and they're going to want to go up there. So, put a bathing suit in there. Put one of the things sunscreen, things like that. One of the things that I often tell people, particularly if you have little kids, you may have a little wait at the port. There is going to be all sorts of food on your ship, but there's not that much food in the port while you're waiting. So have some food, because sometimes the kids will get a little antsy. This is around lunchtime. They may not, it may be their nap time, so they'll really be antsy. So have something that you can kind of tide them over and make sure that they're not ravenous by the time they get on board. So I think that's a helpful thing to have with you. But think about with the things that you may need. I carry my toiletries with me just because I like to have them, right when I get into the room, and your bags may not arrive till a little later, and I want to brush my teeth, things like that. So think about those kinds of things that you're going to need with you immediately. Always medications, if you have medications, keep those with you, things like that.
I was thinking about something that you'd probably want to do that I do is that, and Elaine can attest this because when we went to Alaska, I was obsessively reading like the directions and the procedures, especially when it's somewhere that you're not familiar with. So if you're catching a port that's in another country, whether it's Vancouver or one of the British ones or wherever, it's something where like I like to kind of I'm with like how Chloe says she used to print it out and highlight it. I sometimes like to have that physical copy with me, which is something you'd want to remember to print out before you go, because I don't know that my cell phone's not going to die.
Or have service.
Have service, yes. And the last thing I want to be dependent on is something like that.
Yes.
Oh, a Disney created app that's always going to work? Yeah, right.
On the sea, on the ocean?
On the ocean? Yeah, right. So I'm. It's one of those things where I'm like, if it's stuff that I really is important to access, I'm like, you know what? Just print it out. And especially easier to do at home before you're like, do you have a business center? I think is something that I always like to do. I know they mail you some stuff ahead of time, whatever. I like to carry all that with me, but I do go through and I will like obsessively read where I'm like, okay. So like one thing that I'm always very cautious about is that I'm not sure how the rule has changed with like carry on in terms of like liquor or beer and wine. And I know that some people are just like, oh, it's, whatever, this much per person, right? But the thing is, there's in the fine print, like with a beer, it's not all beer. It's like the beer has to be under a certain percentage of alcohol, which I believe is under 10 it was before. I'm not sure if that still holds true. Don't quote me on it. But that's one of those things you'd want to double check on.
Right.
Because it is like, okay, well, you can bring this beer and, and I like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. But I was going to say I like to have something in the room is the thing, because I feel like it's a celebration. And, you know, once you get checked into the stateroom, you're like, oh, I want to, like, let's crack a bottle of champagne. Not real champagne. Let's get over ourselves. You know, the $6 sparkling wine.
Prosecco.
The Cooks. Yeah, Prosecco.
Cooks.
Yeah. Bottom shelf, Target clearance. I'm real
Israel's
classy.
finest.
So I like to really obsessively check that, because I have this fear of like getting to the port and they're like ripping the bag open or whatever. And I mean, that's not necessarily the perception of what's actually going to happen, but I don't want to be the guy who has water in his water bottle at the airport, sort of a thing. And so I'm very careful about that. And some beers, you know, if you're like, oh, well, I'm going to crack this like specialty beer I've been saving, like there's one in my refrigerator right now, I know, and I am positive it's over 10%. And I was like, I think it's a Haunted Mansion themed beer. So I'd be like, ooh, let's have it on the Treasure as the Haunted Mansion parlor, and like, wouldn't it be fun to open it there? Well, no, because I'd go to the port and then they'd make me throw it away because you can't drink it right there, right? I mean, I don't think you can. So, you know, you don't want to lose out on that. And
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
could I just have that bottle? I'll throw it away. But yeah, that's the thing. I'm like an obsessive. Like, it's all in the details. Anybody else? You got anything else?
Yeah, I have some more stuff. Chris had mentioned about don't freak out about things. I've got two things.
As I just
not
said, you
to
better
freak
freak out. No.
Do not freak out. Two things that a lot of my clients tend to freak out about, and I tell everything's fine.
Sharks?
I promise you everything's fine. One of them is the luggage tags, like you talked about, and I wanted to kind of go into that more. We have a lot of people that I get emails from that say, I didn't get my luggage tags. Should I be worried? What do I do? Can you have them send me more? Like, here's the thing. It's probably like 50-50 if you're actually going to get them to begin with. Disney Cruise Line does one sweep when they print them. There have been times that I don't get them at all. There are times that I get them after the cruise has sailed. There are times that I get them a month in advance. There is no rhyme or reason to it. I have parties traveling together that some of them get them and some of them don't. It is what it is. But you don't have to forget about it, because when you get to the port, or if you're taking a Disney transfer, they will have blank ones, and all you need to do is, I say, bring you a Sharpie, and all you need to do is write your room number really big with that Sharpie. You do not need to fill out name, address, phone number, social security number, mother's maiden name, street you grew up on, none of that. Just room number. That's all you need to put on them. Big O with a Sharpie, they will get to your room. The other thing not to freak out on is I get a lot of emails and text messages and phone calls from people that have gotten on the ship. It is 12:30. They literally just stepped foot on the ship, and they say, where's my shipboard credit?
All right.
At Dreams Unlimited Travel, we give a shipboard credit for booking with us as a thank you. And so they get on, they check their Navigator app, and they see it's not there. And they freak out. And there's nothing in their room or anything. So one, Disney has stopped putting little cards in the room. So there's nothing telling you that it's there. However, it doesn't generally show up until after the ship has actually left the port. And traditionally, it's even a lot later than that. It'll be after dinner time or even when you get up the next day. So wait. I promise it will be there. You can go ahead and you can charge stuff to your room, and once it's there, it'll start deducting.
Yeah.
Because people just really, they do freak out about that, and I promise it's there. We actually have a system of checks and balances to make sure that you get your shipboard credit, because we have multiple people checking. It's there, I promise you.
And it's one of those things where I think important to remember for people who haven't been on a cruise before is that you're not getting charged like in the moment, right? It's like a receipt at the end of the trip that then they give you
the
that
night before,
stuff.
Yeah, the night before, you'll get like a printout, and they will, any shipboard credit either from us or that you've put on in advance, they'll deduct from that first, and then they charge your card.
Good to know. Miss Chloe?
I just had one thing to add to my nerd packet. So Elaine mentioned
go.
a Sharpie, first of all.
Got
so
it. Nerd
pen,
packet,
highlight.
checking list. Got it.
Pen, highlight,
Big,
Sharpie.
thick pair of glasses.
Yes.
Just kidding. Glasses don't make you a nerd.
Well, you maybe sometimes. No, another thing I like to do, if you have time, this isn't imperative to your trip, but I feel like it saves me a lot of time when I'm actually on the ship, is you print out like return address labels that have your name address, email, and phone number. I think is what it calls for. So you can just stick on those labels onto the paper Disney Cruise Line luggage tags instead of having to sit in your stateroom and fill out 10 different luggage tags for everybody in your party's luggage.
Yeah.
It's so easy, just like stick it on there so you can like go to Staples, get a sheet of return address labels and make your own.
Yeah, that's smart.
Put that in your nerd packet.
Chris?
One of the other things that we're talking about, things not to forget, one of the things to check is the list of things you should not bring on a cruise. There is a whole list of prohibited items that you cannot bring on your Disney cruise. They are things that, to me, are obvious. Don't bring a drone. They're not going to let you on with a drone. There are also some plugs. You can't bring an extension cord.
Oh, I didn't know this. This happened, and I got to my room, and it was one of those where it was like
A note in your
it
bag.
was confiscated.
Yeah, and it was where I was like, for an extension cord, and I had no idea. It had to do with like outage, power,
Fire. They don't want fires on
It was
board a
literally,
ship.
and it was literally just a normal extension cord. It wasn't like special or anything. But
They'll give you one on board if you need one, but if you get one, make sure it's cruise approved. But unless you really need it, don't bring it. There are other things on there. One of the things that they're really having challenges with right now is people who bring gummies on board. It may be legal in your state. It is not okay to bring on board a ship. And that's all ships. So check that stuff because they're often confiscating that stuff, and it just slows everything down. So just look at the list. I always send my clients about a week before the list of things you should not bring. I send them the link to the full list so they can see it. But there's some things on there. I mean, there's like I think electric shavers are on there. Something weird. There's weird stuff on there that I never would anticipate. So just go over the list to make sure you're not bringing things that you don't need to bring.
And it's always really fun when you get off the ship and you walk by the table of all the confiscated stuff
Yeah,
to see what
exactly.
people brought.
oh, can you reclaim it afterwards sometimes?
Oh yeah, they save it
that's
for you.
You can always reclaim it afterward. They give you a little ticket and then you
Oh.
reclaim it. And it's on a long table as you're walking off the ship, and you can see what everybody brought and got taken away from them.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm gonna watch for that next time.
The other thing I always tell folks to bring is some cash. If you, if you're tipping, you won't need it once you're on the ship. Then everything's kind of in the cruise bubble. But if you're with a porter and things like that, and you want to give them some cash, which is how they get, that's
And room service.
and room service,
Easier.
things like that. It's easier to have some cash with you. So make sure you bring that stuff as well.
And do not go to your bank the day before your cruise and try to get foreign currency. They don't have it. You have to order that in advance. I found that out. You cannot go to your local bank and say, I want to get $200 in Canadian money.
Oh,
They don't have it.
Oh, so I guess you're left. Like,
I
hoping
literally
it's
went
at
to
the
like
airport or
every
whatever.
bank in my
Yeah.
city, like trying to get money before my cruise because I didn't know I had to order it ahead of time. They didn't have it.
Well, I think in Canada they still accept American.
Yeah.
No, anyway,
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was my big. I was like, "Whoops!" I got there and I was like, "Uh oh."
Yeah.
And do we mention people bring your travel documents?
Yeah.
Just reminder.
I think for someone like me who gets motion sickness, and if you're someone who hasn't done a cruise before, and God forbid there's any weather on your cruise or anything like that, remember, obviously, there is a sundries. I don't know what the word is. There's a
That
place.
is actually the word.
Is it? Oh, well, look at me go. I was meant to be a grosser. But no, there's like, so my first cruise I had ever done, I think I had taken the Dramamine as the cruise was going out, and that was a mistake. You're supposed to take it an hour before you start motion, like before the movement starts or anything like that. And they had C-bands on the ship, stuff like that, but then there was weather that night. So it was like an extra add-on for me is that I would say one thing you want to try and not forget before you go home is maybe if you are susceptible to some of these things, that maybe just schedule a casual appointment with your PCP, or go to a wherever one would go. I don't have a PCP, so I don't know. I just go to the whatever.
Walk
and
Teledoc?
and get yourself to a clinic.
Yeah, there are teleways you can do this now, and
Yeah.
you don't have to go see somebody, and they'll ship it right to you. It's nice.
Well, and I was going to say, because sometimes it'll be
patches.
a different product. Is the patches you can't get readily, like over the counter or anything like that. And that's the thing I'm telling you right now. I have never gotten patches, so this is coming from somebody who always forgets to do it.
So I have a couple of them as well that deal with phone numbers. In your little packet that, again, you may or may not get with your luggage tags, there is actually a phone number, and I'm sure it's also on Disney's website, that is like a ship to shore number. Give that to somebody. Give that to whoever your point of contact is. I give it to my parents, so that if there was a true emergency that they needed to get a hold of you, they have this number that will connect to the ship.
I did not know this.
Yeah. So that is one. And the other one is...
The number is 888 DC at Sea, Disney Cruise at Sea. These are satellite phones, so they're it's much more expensive. So don't have people just call you to say hi, because this gets charged to you. But it's a way. By and large, if they text you be able to get those on your ship if it's like an iMessage or something like that. But if it is an emergency and they need to get you, they WhatsApp. They can reach you, and it's 1-888-DC Disney Cruise DC at Sea. So there you go.
So the other one is if you are boarding your pets, I always leave an emergency contact for them that is not me whenever I'm on a cruise. If it's just me going out of town, then they will call me if there's a problem. But if I'm out of the country or on the ship, if there's an emergency with my dog, I want to know. And it actually happened when we went to Fort Lauderdale for this Lookout Key preview cruise, that the boarder called me because another dog attacked my dog and they needed to take her to the vet. And they're like, what's your vet? We need to take her. She needs to go to the vet. So I now give them my sister's name and phone numbers if I know I'm going to be on a cruise, so that somebody is there to advocate for my pet. And then I leave my sister an email that actually says, this is how old she is. This is all her vaccines. This is when she got this. Here's the phone number for the vet, everything.
Oh my God, that is so smart. That's a really good one. I think, I think we're a little tight on time here, so I want to bring this ship to shore. But I do want to ask anybody that is consuming this out there, please share the things that you think that you'd recommend. We'd love to hear your tips and tricks for not forgetting, things that you feel like you need to do, that you do in habit before you go from home, before embarkation, things like that. I always say I love to hear what people's weird travel thing that they go with, because Chloe knows I always have Ziploc bags with me, big, different sizes, but it's always I carry a jumbo one because of the weather or whatever. And, when we were in Alaska and we had all that rainy weather, or when I went with Craig and we did we were
kayaking?
Kayaking. And, they're like, oh, well, you're not going to get wet. And I'm like, yeah, what if it tips over? Or what if I get splashed in? So you're like, I want it in a Ziploc bag. I mean, I know you can leave it on shore or whatever, but
I just use them for leftovers, so I have snacks later.
I do too. So I understand.
Just put some escargot in a Ziploc. It's fine.
Yeah, could you fill up this garbage bag with escargot? But we would love to hear more of that sort of stuff from you. So please, if you are watching this on YouTube, leave us some comments. And if you are watching it, while you're down there leaving those comments, maybe hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Click that bell. You'll get notified whenever we publish any sort of content here. We have Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Universal, all that fun stuff out there. And then if you are listening to this, please rate and review the podcast whenever you have that opportunity. I feel like I had another thing I wanted to say, and it's already gone out of my head. So I'm just going to say thank you to everybody for having this conversation. Thank you, everybody out there. Don't forget about Dreams Unlimited Travel, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com for a free, no-obligation quote today. Thank you one last time, and bon voyage, everyone.